Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Friday, June 13th. That's right, Friday the 13th. Not a good day for anybody, I hope. So, what are we talking about today? It's how to handle do overs and what to do about do overs, if there's anything we can do, and the effects that it has. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Friday. That's right, the end of the work week. And it's also Friday the 13th for you, Friday the 13th people that watch movies. So, what are we talking about today? Well, it's everything to do with do overs. And we first have to explain what is a do over for people that don't understand. And simply as a do over is when you send it out of your shop or you've worked on it and you let it go and it comes back for the same reason. And there's so many different ways you can handle it, all right? The first way is to have minimize your do overs. The second way is to, well, let's first start. I mean, it's a big topic and I don't want to get lost in it. And that is your shop, you have to, Jason said it best. You said it best the other day, Jason, of where if you're interested in getting into the business, you need to minimize how many times you have to do it again for a customer, for the same customer and the same issue. And if you find yourself having a lot of do-overs, then you really need to look internally. If you're the mechanic, why is it happening? And simply I've seen sometimes where it's totally not the shop's fault. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I've seen where I would work on a trimmer and it would end up being faulty fuel. Water in the gas from a gas can kept over from last year that was ethanol. And I dumped the gas, I put fresh gas in it. The customer takes it home, runs great until my gas runs out, and then the yo-yos put their gas back in and have the same issue. And that's the first thing I ask them is, look, it was running great when it left here. The reason it ended up here is because you put that old cruddy gas in. Did you do that again? Only 1 in 5 will tell you yes. But when they're standing there on your doorstep, and I've done this before, when I felt that that was the case, I say, you got a minute? Hold tight. Dump the gas out, drain the carburetor, put fresh gas in it, boom, it starts right up. I'm going to bill you for it. And you have to. Those are not do-overs. Those are customers that expect you to do a do-over, but those are not do-overs. Those are instances where the customer is causing the issue and not you, the shop. And you really don't have a lot of control in that unless you're calling them out. And what do I mean by calling them out? I mean, just like I did. When they come in with a new tank of fuel in it, which is their old crappy gas, doing it right in front of them, dumping their old gas out, emptying the system, putting in a new plug, putting in new gas, and having it fire up and run like a charm. A lot of times when they see that the second time, it finally registers in their head, I guess the old gas is the culprit. And I tell a lot of my customers, that old gas, most often the case, you can dump it right into your vehicle. Because you got 8 cylinders or 6 cylinders popping away instead of 1 or 2. And the vehicles are made to run on this corn ethanol mix blend. So, but cars have the same issue if they sit for long periods of time, right? They're going to get condensation. So That's a do-over, but not really a do-over. And you need to be able to separate the two, all right? An actual do-over is when your shop is putting out shoddy work. And you're going to say, well, what are you defining as shoddy? Nobody's perfect. Once in a while we miss it. Once in a while is nothing. You're going to have a couple do-overs in the season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's not if, it's when. We have them. But it's what you do about them that will change how you continue on as a business. The first thing I do if I start seeing do-overs is I start looking to see what is the issue. Are we pushing too hard and overlooking things? Is the mechanic pushing stuff out quicker than it should just to get it out? Does the shop owner have too much pressure on the mechanic to get stuff out and is causing the mechanic to push stuff out sooner than it should be? There could be any one of those mixes, right? But if you want to run a shop long term, the amount of do-overs has to be minimized. Because it does. It gives you a black eye. Once in a while, not so much. But if you're continually getting black eyes, people will quit bringing their stuff to you and passing your name on to other people that you could add as more good customers, right? I don't care if it's a close friend of yours, family, or a great customer. If you have a couple do-overs, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And they'll take it to a different shop. They understand nobody's perfect, but they like to get the yard mowed. And a constant do-over and saying I'm sorry and redoing it for free doesn't amount to squat if you haven't fixed the issue. Yes, I said for free. If the reason for the do-over is because the shop failed at something, then my take on it is that the shop needs to eat it. Yes. You already billed the customer, and whether you build it too cheaply or not, that's here and gone. The fact is you already billed the customer for the job of fixing their issue. And if you didn't fix their issue, it doesn't matter how cheap it was. You can't go back to the customer and tell them, but I've seen shops do this. And I'll give you a case in point. The local John Deere dealership picked up an older woman in her late 70s. Doesn't matter her age, but I like to add it for, drama. Picked up her riding lawnmower to do a complete service on it, all right? And they just did the basics. Oil change, fuel filter, spark plugs, blew out the air filter, checked the transaxles, checked the deck, so they did all this stuff. And the bill was over $800. Yep. Over $800 for that service on that lawnmower. And the lawnmower was 8 to 10 years old. We're getting close to half of what a new one is, right? Stay with me. So, the first time she goes to mow her yard, she gets halfway around the first pass and doesn't the belt break for the deck. She didn't hit nothing. She didn't have it caught in the deck. It just went. So what happens next? She gets a hold of the dealership, tells them what the issue is, and they say, no problem, we'll take care of it. They come out, they pick it up, take it all the way back, they have it for another week, put a new belt on, and then they build her again for trucking. They build her for the belt. They build her for the labor, putting the belt on. And that ended up being $400. How quickly do you think that older woman was willing to head right back to that dealership the next time she has problems or needs a service on her mower. She doesn't. She comes to us. Because that's the most asinine thing I ever heard. I didn't tell her that. But as a shop owner, it kind of embarrasses me a little that another shop would do that. That's not good business. And you're going to tell me, some of you, that yes, it is, because the shop can't take the loss on the belt or the labor or the time in trucking and fuel. Well, you should have caught it the first time. That mechanic that signed off and they billed that lady $800 for a service checked off that they checked the belt on the deck, sharpened the blades, they did all this stuff, and there were no sharpened blades. The deck never got checked, or that belt would have been seen. Can we go back to, the shop can't be perfect? Absolutely. But in that same sense, if it was my shop and Claude missed that belt, that time, and that trucking is on me. Not him. It's on me, the shop owner. I'm going to eat it. And why am I going to eat it? Because I told that gal that it was ready to go 100%. And I put my stamp on it when it left the shop. And whether you're the mechanic and the owner, or whether you're the owner and you got mechanics, that last stamp on the way out. That's why I say it's better if you got two people, because the one person is doing the repairs, the second person is just double checking to make sure that the first person didn't miss something. So with that line of logic, that should make you even more wanting to not do do-overs, because you as a shop should eat it if you do have to do it. Unless we go back to example A, and that is putting bad fuel back into a unit after you told them to get rid of that fuel. But we're only human, right? And we will make mistakes. And that's okay, but we're going to pay for our mistakes. And you can look at it however you want. You can look at it as an education. Some people go to college and pay big money per semester, and other people start their own business and they pay big money on mistakes, and they damn well better learn from it. And what I've learned from it is, A, try to minimize as much of the do-overs as possible. You're not going to eliminate all of them. B, be the better person and stand up and say, this is on us, the shop. Whether you dock your mechanic or not. If you're in a shop that has flat rate and that mechanic lets something go and it comes back, those shops, that mechanic eats it. The shop doesn't eat it. The mechanic does, because the mechanic signed off on it. And in a way, it's better, because the mechanic is going to make sure that it's ready to go before it lets it go. And in getting flat rate, they're trying to get speed to get it out, but they want to minimize the do-overs, because it's going to cost them money and time that they could be doing other jobs. Let me know in the comments how you guys handle do-overs that have shops. And it could be, for cars and trucks. How do you handle do-overs? And what kind of a reputation have you heard about other places where customers had taken their stuff and the issue wasn't solved and it had to come back and have the same thing done? Maybe you had that happen to you. How did you feel about that shop? I don't care if we're good friends. I would lose a little. I wouldn't want to be rushing right back to you. And I don't care if you had 3 do-overs and you took care of it out of your own pocket. It's costing me time that I could be mowing or weed eating or doing whatever with that piece of equipment. If you understand that. Yes, there are going to be times where it's the customer's fault. But you damn well better be able to prove it before you start piping from your high horse of if they did something wrong. And I've seen customers where they'd hit something and say they didn't hit it and deny. And for those, you got one or two choices. You either can say sorry and bill them for it and never have them for a customer again, or just say, you know what, they've been a good customer, I'm just going to let this one slide and take care of it. It's all based on the shop. But with doing do-overs, it also has a negative connotation to the public at large. You know, we talk about gossip, right? And people tend to gossip more for entertainment than anything else. But what I found with gossip is by the time it gets to the second, third, fourth, fifth person, everybody adds on their own little thing, right? And it could start off with, I had to take my weed trimmer back because it was doing the same thing after an hour, which means they ran out of fuel. And they put their old fuel on it and they couldn't get it started again. So I had to go back to that shop. By the time it gets to the fifth hand, you know, that shop they're worthless. They have no good mechanics and they don't treat you very well. You see what I'm saying? It's public perception. It's not the actual truth that will get you. It's perception. So you try to minimize as much as you can. Be careful of calling out your customer if you're not 100% sure. And if you do run into a do-over, eat it. If it's your shop that made the mistake, be man enough to step up and take care of it. Be apologetic, take care of it, and when they say, how much do I owe you? Say nothing. See, we had that once a few years back. A guy brought us a John Deere. And he said that he was losing, it was a hydrostatic. He said he was losing power. And Claude looked, and on top, the pulley, they're well known for stripping that kind of like a star pattern, but the pulley sits on it. It gets stripped, all right? And you're looking at either new transmission or someone good enough to rebuild it and put a new shaft in it. What we do for our customers, if they're older machines and stuff, is we will take and actually either braze or weld that pulley onto that shaft. You know, it's no good anyways, so and I've seen people do for 6-8 years and on with that system. So we went ahead and he did that. And it helped it a lot better. But the problem is what Claude didn't see was the frame was cracked. And it was flexing and it was allowing the belt to loosen. Thus losing the number of times revolutions the belt went around the transmission, thus slowing down. Now, when the guy brought it back saying it was still having similar issues, especially on hills, we took a closer inspection and found, yes, that there, on both sides of the frame, it was cracked. So Claude said, what do you want to do? I said, well, grind her down, plate it, and re-weld it. So we did. My first and my biggest mistake was writing up a bill and handing it to that customer for the welding, fabricating, and he didn't come back to us for years because he was so irate that it was the same problem. And here we were trying to bill him again. And I understand now as a shop owner that we should have ate that and never even presented a bill. In the end, we missed it. All right? Nobody's perfect, but we missed it. We missed the cracked frame and the flexing. We saw what we thought was the obvious. We fixed the obvious, kicked it out, and it was partly that, but it was more so the crack frame. So on that note, you guys have a good weekend. I'm not sure what I'm going to be putting out over the weekend. Put in the comments what your thoughts are on do-overs. I mean, have you had it happen to you? If you're a shop owner, how do you handle it? So on that note, you guys have a great Friday and a great weekend, and we'll catch you here next Monday for the weekday.